unexpected turn of events, Infosys co-founder Mr. Narayana Murthy has stirred up a debate when he advocated for a 70-hour work week so that the Indian youngsters could match up the pace with countries like China and Japan in terms of their workload. Take for instance India, which boasts the highest weekly working hours among the top 10 global economies but holds the lowest per capita GDP. On the flip side, France, with the shortest working week among these economies at 30.1 hours, enjoys one of the highest per capita GDP figures at $55,493. K. Pandya-Rajan, Executive Chairman and HR expert at Marfoy Strategic Consultants, has weighed in on the matter, advocating for a more balanced approach. He suggested that India should avoid simply adopting the Western model of a 35-hour work week. Instead, he encourages finding a golden middle ground of 48 hours per week while ensuring the health and fitness of employees are taken into account. The discussion over working hours is far from over, and it raises pertinent questions about India's path towards enhancing economic competitiveness while prioritizing the well-being of its workforce. As per the statistics, Indians are already among the hardest workers in the world, averaging for 47.7 hours per week, according to the International Labour Organization as of 2023. Mr. Murthy stated that India's productivity is one of the lowest in the world, and this is what exactly the Germans and Japanese have not been doing after the World War. They have been working for long hours, and this is what exactly Mr. Murthy has advised for the young generation to follow.
So therefore, my request is that our youngsters must say, this is my country. I want to work 70 hours a week. This is exactly what Germans and Japanese did after the Second World War.
Yes.
The German leader, he sat down with the German leaders, corporate leaders, and he said, we have to rebuild, and that's your job. And they made sure that every German worked extra hours for a certain number of years. So I hope our leaders too will be able to, when I say leaders, corporate leaders too will be able to address our youngsters and say, for the first time, India has received certain respect. This is the time for us to consolidate and accelerate the progress. And for doing that, we need to work very hard. We need to be disciplined and improve our work productivity. I think unless we do that, what can poor government do? Every government is as good as the culture of the people. And our culture has to change to that of highly determined, extremely disciplined, and extremely hardworking people. And that transformation has to come to youngsters, because youngsters form a significant majority of our population at this point of time, and they are the ones who can build our country, with gusto.
The netizens have been divided in their opinion. Let us listen to some of their views.
My initial thoughts or reactions to Narayana Murthy's statement about there needing to be a 70-hour work week to increase productivity is one, an increase in number of hours is in no way related to an increase in efficiency or productivity, and I would expect someone of Mr. Murthy's stature to understand that. But also second, this is just the latest in a long line of statements that founders, CEOs and C-suite folks have been making about younger people. I would want to draw attention to what Shantanu Deshpande of the Bombay Shaving Company also said on LinkedIn last year about young people who should be working 18 hours every day. I think that sort of ties into what Mr. Murthy also said this time. And I feel like these statements coming from people in positions of seniority are a little tone deaf, because sure, for someone who is a CEO of a company, working a few extra hours might actually translate to more profit for the company. That means more profit for that individual themselves. And but for an employee in their company working extra hours without any mention of, I'm surprised that anyone who makes these statements doesn't just add with extra compensation for those hours, because for the young person in their company working those extra hours without compensation doesn't help. You're giving up your time only to make your employer richer, only to make Mr. Deshpande richer, only to make Narayana Murthy richer. and you get no benefits out of it, right? We've already seen over the last few years in the pandemic also how bigger companies, how these CEOs, etc., will replace you at a moment's notice. They will fire you to cut their own costs. In the pandemic, I feel like a lot of younger people lost faith in larger systems of work, if they still had any left by that point of time. I mean, we've also seen the wealth gap increase so much. I mean, it's already been there in India, but the fact that it's been ever increasing sort of proves to younger people that extra labor that they put in is actually of no benefit to them, because the means of production are, I mean, they're still, working for the benefit of their employers. It is, of course, in Mr. Murthy's favor to sort of make statements like this, because if everyone in Infosys works 70 hours, he will get richer, right?
It's the 21st century, and the question of work-life balance still arises as to how youngsters will be able to manage their work commitment along with their personal commitment. You're watching Campus Chronicle. This is Shreya Sinha along with camera person Mitali Chauhan. Thank you.